Hi everyone, welcome to my chaotic corner of the internet. This is a video that I was not sure if I was gonna make because I don't want to become a drama channel or anything. I don't want y'all to expect this kind of spicy content from me. This is gonna be like the only time I ever make a video like this, but I'm just done, dude. I'm done trying to be civil with this person. And honestly, I hope I never hear from him again. This is the video. I can't believe I'm making it. I might actually make it and then never edit it. I might never post it, or I might post it and then immediately make it unlisted. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with this content that I'm about to create. I've seen other people's Roommate from Hell videos on this platform, and I think I have something to bring to the table. So, for the sake of this video, we are going to call this man Jeff. I met Jeff, this is not his real name, by the way. I met Jeff at a party in 2018. He and I got along just fine. We were actually friends, we hung out periodically. I was living alone at the time, and so I decided I wanted to get a roommate. It was basically because I wanted to save money. And so I put out feelers on Facebook. I was like, hey, who wants to live with me? And Jeff answered. And I was like, all right, yeah, sure. So sometime later, Jeff moved into this very room. And for a while, things were fine. We used to hang out all the time. We went to parties together. We would sit in the hallway and have late night beers together and talk about stuff. He, to his credit, was a very interesting person. At the time, we had opposite work schedules, so we were pretty much like only see each other a few times a week, which was great. But everything changed in February of 2020. Now remember, this was right before the panty hit the US. So when I talk about parties, it wasn't irresponsible back then. This is where it gets really complicated. Honestly, I need to keep it vague just to keep everyone anonymous. But this is going to get really confusing really fast, and I apologize. Okay. I have these two friends. And for the sake of anonymity, we are going to call one of these friends Persephone and one of them Cassandra. Cassandra and I hung out all the time, still do, and she would come over and sometimes she and Jeff would hang out. She was into him, and from what she has told me, he made it seem like he was into her. He was really weird about it. But she was interested in him for whatever reason. Persephone and I had planned a party together. I had to go because I helped plan it. It just had bad vibes. It's hard to explain without getting too much into detail. But I had driven Cassandra to this party. And Jeff was also at this party. Jeff had driven separately. I went home at like midnight. And I asked Cassandra, I was like, yo, I need to leave. I need to go to bed. Do you want to go home with me and, get your car and leave, or do you want to stay here? She was like, I'll just have Jeff drive me home. And I was like, okay. So I went home by myself. I went to bed. I woke up at like some ungodly hour, like 6 in the morning or something, like something you don't want to do on the weekends because it was a Saturday. I heard voices drifting down the hallway. That's why I woke up. I went down the hallway to find my friends sitting out there. Persephone, Jeff, and Cassandra were all in my living room. And I don't know how to explain this without sounding absolutely unhinged. I walked into the living room and immediately the bad vibes just smacked me in the face. I left my house. I went to Whole Foods. I went to lunch. I went to the gym. I went to the mall. I did not want to be at home while these people were in my house because I just felt the vibes. They were weird and there was no other way to explain it. When I was at the mall, I was getting messages from people. Essentially what ended up happening was that, as I mentioned, Cassandra was interested in Jeff. Well, we didn't know this, but apparently Persephone was also interested in Jeff. Persephone and Jeff would apparently keep walking outside and talking, and then Cassandra would walk outside and they would immediately stop talking. And she was like, hey, do you guys want me to leave? Like, do you not want me around? And they're like, no, we want you to be here. And at some point, Cassandra felt so bad for waking me up. She didn't have to. But she felt so bad for waking me up that she was washing my dishes. My kitchen has a window. So she happened to look out the window in the kitchen and she saw Persephone and Jeff kissing outside. because he had walked her out to her car and then they ended up kissing. Cassandra was confused and devastated, and I was confused. I had no inkling in my brain that like, oh, what is this hair doing? No inkling whatsoever that Jeff and Persephone, if you will, were interested in each other whatsoever. And I thought Persephone and I were close, so I was really shocked because I was like, how did I not know this? They dated for like a few weeks or something. He broke up with her basically after all this, because like this was a big situation. I remember crying to my therapist about this shit because I felt like this man was kind of pitting my friends against each other. That puts me in a weird position because at the time he was my friend and these people were also my friends. It just put me in like a super weird position. And this man had the nerve to tell me that I didn't get to feel that way because they were his friends too. And I was like, well, yeah, they are your friends too, but like, don't feel remorse. You don't feel like this is a weird thing to have done. Okay, all right. Dude, if I were living with somebody, I just simply wouldn't get with any of their friends, or like, you know, maybe one at a time. But oh my god. I hope I'm explaining this well because I really am trying to keep it as vague as possible. There are layers to this that I'm not trying to get into. So anyway, Jeff breaks up with Persephone after a few weeks after all of this. Like after everything that he like did to get himself into this position, he broke up with her. And he immediately started dating another one of my friends. Now, to be fair, he met her at the same time that I met her. So she was both of our friends, technically. He loves pointing that out. But the fact is that she was my friend. So Jeff starts dating this other lady. We're gonna call her Scarlett. Jeff and Scarlett were together. After he had broken up with Persephone, he immediately got with Scarlett. At one point, Jeff cheated on Scarlett with Cassandra. If you remember Cassandra from earlier. Jeff kissed Cassandra while he was dating Scarlett. And then he said that he and Scarlett weren't official and that it was okay. Which was not true. It was not true. It was one of those like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend, but there is a lady out there who would be really hurt to hear me say that kind of situations. Understandably, Cassandra was upset about this because she was like, you tried to cheat on your girlfriend with me. And Scarlett was upset about this. Jeff did feel remorse, but like it was, okay, so I held on to this for a few months. Because I'm the kind of person who, it takes me like 5 to 7 business days just to know how I feel. And sometimes, like in the past, I'm not like this anymore. Sometimes I'll feel like, well, it's been too long now. I can't say anything about this. But I talked to my therapist about it and I was like, look, I still am harboring resentment towards this man because of the fact that he cheated on one of my friends with one of my other friends who also happened to have been tied up in the love triangle situation. He's just making my life complicated. And my therapist was like, there's no time limit. You can tell him about it right now. You can literally go and say like, hey, what you did is really putting me in like an uncomfortable position and I like would like you to stop doing that. So I did. I would barely ever see him. And this was of course like during the panic. I never see him except when he would come out of his room to tell me to keep it down because apparently I was being loud and he was trying to work. Which, like, you know, I don't want to be a shitty roommate. I wasn't, like, doing this intentionally. I just never knew what he was doing because he was always in this room with his door closed. I didn't know if he was working or sleeping or, you know, talking to somebody or what. Like, I never knew what he was doing. So sometimes I would have the audacity to listen to something without headphones on, and then he would come out and, like, bitch at me about it. I sympathized. I was like, I'm sorry, you know. That was the only time he would ever fucking talk to me for a while there. Except for this one time when he came out of his room to tell me that the AC wasn't working. I too am sweating. I've already talked to our landlord about it because he had our landlord's number but never was the one to contact him. When he told me about the AC problem, he was like, hey, are we okay? I feel like things are weird. And I was like, actually, no. He was like on his break from work and he like came out and talked to me and I was like, look, I'm still really like not okay. The fact that you cheated on one of my friends with one of my other friends. And he basically just kind of shut down and he was like, wait a sec. You know, I feel really bad and like those are the thoughts that have been going through my head this whole time, but hearing them externally makes me feel like I'm a shitty person and I'm like irredeemable or something. And I was like, sorry? Like that's how I feel. And he was like, I wish you had brought this up sooner. I'm just like, look bitch, me too, but like I told you earlier, I don't always know how I feel about something and then it stews and this is something I'm working on. But at least I'm working on myself, because here's the thing. Following this event, I told him, I was like, look, you need to get help. You're making some weird ass choices in your life. I gave him my resource for inexpensive therapy, which I'll give you all too if you're watching this. If you live in the US, I think it's throughout the whole US. You need affordable therapy on like a sliding scale basis. Openpath.org, I'm not sponsored by them. I just talk about them all the time with all my friends. Openpath.org is a godsend. That's how I found my therapist. I love them. Anyway. I gave him this resource. I said, go on here, find somebody. Please, for the love of God, talk to a therapist, because like, you know, it's not even just like the things that he'd done to me. It's just like he is a person who has mental health issues. He's always talking about his depression and shit, but he's never getting help for it. So I gave him this resource and he deadass never went on there, never used it, never even looked into it as far as I can tell. Also, he drank a lot. Like a lot. I think that really did play a part in a lot of this, but what do I know? So, okay, causing a love triangle between my friends is one thing. Cheating on one of my friends with another one of my friends is another thing. But really the final nail in the coffin for Jeff's and my friendship happened on New Year's Day this year. So my mom came over to help me clean because it was it was a depression hovel in this house. I just needed help. I needed to like really do some cleaning, okay? Like Jeff wasn't home that morning when we started. And at some point he did come home. He saw us cleaning the kitchen and he just kind of said hi and walked right past us. No thank you, no nothing. Jeff also had this habit of using my coffee machine and never taking the filters out of it afterwards. So periodically by periodically I mean all the time, there would be just like a moldy mass of coffee grounds and a filter in my coffee maker. He didn't have any of his own appliances, any of his own dishes, nothing, which is fine. It's like I have all that, but like he would use my shit and then not clean it up, which is just like not okay. He would clean most of the things that he would use eventually, but like for some reason he would always leave like rotting coffee grounds in my coffee machine. He like came home and then left again. Because when he left again, then my mom and I wrote him a note. This is kind of passive aggressive, but I'm owning it. I did this. We left him a note saying like, hey, can you please like take your coffee grounds out of the coffee maker when you're done with it? And also could you please clean the microwave? Because at this point I really hadn't even been microwaving anything, but it was still dirty in there. And he like never cleaned the kitchen. He would sometimes wash the dishes, which I appreciated, but he would never like clean the kitchen, you know. Anyway, so he came home again and just like tore the note off of whatever we taped it to, went back into his room, did not say a fucking word to us. Sometime later, my mom was vacuuming the hallway because she's an angel and was helping me clean. And I don't know if y'all know this, but one of the steps involved in cleaning is vacuuming. So she was vacuuming the hallway, right? Which is a shared space. He uses it too. Part of the mess was undoubtedly his. Jeff came out of his room and was like, hey, can you keep it down because I'm trying to work in here? Like, he was so rude about it, dude. And like, I was in my room just like doing whatever. My mom said, and I quote, sorry for cleaning. And then later on she was like, I'm sorry, I was sarcastic. I'm like, no, because he was rude as hell. The way he phrased it, the way he said it, the tone he used was hella rude. And I heard it from my room. At this point, I was like, okay, you have done the most, and now you are really being rude to my mother. Absolutely not. I will freely admit that she and I made fun of him, because I was at the end of my rope and I was like, this man, what the hell? If he had said thank you once, if he had said, oh, I'm sorry, thank you for cleaning up, you know, I appreciate it, fucking anything like that. And then if he hadn't been so rude, if he had said I'm going to work now in my dark void cave of a room. There are ways to do this that aren't just like coming out and being like, hey, can you keep it down? I'm working. Like, you could have given us warning and you could have said thank you. That's all I asked. I was like, ugh. So we made fun of him in my room, like with the door closed, I think. And then we like left and went and got dinner and I just like left the house. I was livid. I was screaming outside. I was like, this man! Like, so after that, a few days passed and Jeff had not said a single goddamn word to me. And there was one day when I was in the kitchen and I was like taking out the trash and Jeff was like, hey, we need to talk about what happened. And I was like, okay, yes, let's talk about what happened on January 1st of this year. And essentially the argument that we ended up having was him saying, you don't know what I'm going through, I'm having a hard time. And me being like, okay, but you can be polite. You can say thank you. You can't expect people to read your mind and know that you're going through something. You can't expect people to like walk on eggshells around you. What you can do is be nice for 2 seconds and be communicative. You can say words to people. You can say thank you for cleaning my house that I'm paying to live in. You can say, I'm going to work now. And all I got was him trying to justify his shitty behavior. Hi, it's me from the future. I'm editing. I just realized that like I did not portray this quite as it happened. Sorry about my eyebrows. It was an argument. Like I'm talking like a weirdly calm voice in this video, but it was actually like a whole argument. He kept saying stuff like, well, you've already made up your mind. You already know how you feel about this. There's no point in me talking to you about this. Like, well, yeah, I did make up my mind because I was there and I witnessed it and know what I saw, and you were rude as hell. And I don't care what you were going through. There's no way to justify the way that you treated my mom and I that day. At one point, I guess I raised my voice because he like got on me. He was like, don't raise your voice at me. And that was the end of the argument. And I realized that this was a pattern from him because he would always justify his shitty behavior by saying he was having a hard time. But then he also refused to do anything about it. He would not seek the therapy resources that I had so gracefully given to him. He had decided that he was having a bad time and he was going to make it everyone else's problem. Oh, by the way, during that fight, he mentioned that he heard us talking shit about him, and I was like, okay, so you can hear me talking in my room then. You've been able to hear everything I've said in my room, and you never told me that before now. I literally had therapy sessions in my room. I had all sorts of conversations in my room, and the only time he revealed it to me was because he heard my mom and I saying mean things about him, and he could hear all of it. How is that supposed to make me feel? So I started having therapy sessions in my car after that, and I started making videos in my car after that because I got really paranoid, like in my own house. Anyway, so we had this bad fight, and then a couple of days later he came to my room and he stood in my doorway and he tried to apologize. Sorry, I'm just like pew, 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 because there's so much to talk about. I've been talking to my friends and I was like, I think I need to kick this man out. I need him gone. And everyone agreed with me. My original plan was to say like, we can't live together. I don't know who's gonna move out, but we can't live together. And when my friends pointed out like, dude, all the bills are in my name. I have connections to my neighbors. I actually talk to people outside. I actually go outside. The washer and dryer are mine. I bought them off my last roommate. Like, everything here is mine. There's no reason for me to be the one who moves. And I'm glad that he was rational about that. I was worried that he was going to try to fight me on it and be like, why do I have to be the one to move out? But no, that wasn't even the issue. January 7th was the day that he came to my room and tried to apologize to me. I was in an alien onesie on my bed, drinking a beer with my cats on top of me. I remember this like it was yesterday. I can paint a picture. I said something like, hey, actually, yeah, about that. I think it would be best if you start looking for another place to live. I don't know when our lease is up, but I'll figure it out. I want to give you plenty of time to try to find somewhere else to live. Something like that. And he literally just said, okay, and walked away. When I tell you that that was the last thing he ever said to me, I mean that. He literally never talked to me again. I'm living in this house that I am paying half the rent for. I was working in the living room all the time on the couch, and he would literally walk in and just stomp right past me, not look me in the eyes, not say a single word to me. It was absurd. This lasted for months. And I wasn't about to say anything to him Because I was honestly worried about setting him off. I was worried if I tried to say hi or something, he would be shitty about it. Really didn't want to start anything. And I really felt like he would think that me saying a single word to him would be me trying to start something. And I just actually now realized that. So anyway, like there was one time when he and his girlfriend were hanging out at my house in my living room. I was talking to her and he was in the room and he still didn't say a single word to me. It was so surreal. At some point, he sent me a message saying like, hey, the Wi-Fi is being slow, do you know why? Like that was the only thing he said to me, was complaining about the Wi-Fi. Finally, he did start moving out at midnight one night. And I remember that because I was just about to go to bed when I started hearing him going in and out of his room because the door squeaked, in and out of the front of the house because that door also squeaks. Like, I was like, okay, good, I'm glad he's starting this process, which he hadn't done it at midnight, but that's fine. At one point he had his friend helping him out and his friend said more words to me than Jeff had said to me the whole year. Like, since January. So at one point I opened the door and all of his stuff was gone. Literally everything was gone. He left without saying a single word to me, and not only that, but he still had his key. He was like, he didn't leave that behind. I didn't see it anywhere. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, are you done moving out, basically? And he never responded. Not only that, but a couple of days later, or like the next day or something, he blocked me on Facebook. He still owes me money, is the thing. And I texted him, I don't know, a few weeks ago or something. Hey, I saw that you blocked me on Facebook, which is fine, but just so you know, you still owe me money. I've already sent you a Venmo request. Please, you know, fulfill it. And he didn't. I messaged his girlfriend, my friend. What do we call her? Scarlett. Jeff is ignoring me, but can you please make sure that he, like, pays? She was like, oh yeah, I'll bring it up with him. I was like, okay. He still hasn't. So, like, yesterday or something, I paid my power bill from March, which Jeff also owes me. I requested that. And I texted him again, and I was like, hi, I sent you another request. And he, like, still has not gotten back to me. Has not sent me the money, nothing. So he owes me $60. In the beginning, my goal was that we could still be civil. My goal was that someday, because we do still have mutual friends as far as I know, someday if we get invited to the same party, we can be cool. But by making this video, I'm basically cementing that I want nothing to do with him. And if he had paid me his $60, I think I would have not made this video. So I don't care anymore. Like, all bets are off. I just don't care. I just wanted to tell my side of the story because, first of all, I'm hoping some people out there find this very juicy and interesting to listen to. And secondly, I just don't care. I had a story to tell, I told it. There are other people involved, but it's still my story. This is my perspective. This is what happened to me. If there's one thing I can impart to you, it's that be careful who you live with, be careful who you get on leases with. You literally never know who people are until you live with them, though. I did not know that I was setting myself up for this. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and I will see you lovely humans next time, okay?